Hello, and welcome to our newest series, HR Heroes, where we will be interviewing inspirational executives who are champions and heroes across the HR space. Whether leading a global transformation program, scaling world-class startups to IPO, or engaging with executive boards, we'll be looking to tell the story of the journey and the lessons learned along the way. So, thank you everyone for joining us today. I am joined with Peter, who I've had the pleasure of knowing for quite some years now. So Peter and I worked together maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago on a recruitment project in London. So had the opportunity to spend some time getting to know each other then, and since then have kind of kept in touch. So yeah, Peter, thanks so much for joining us. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation and kind of diving in a little bit deeper on your background and experience, and yeah, opportunity for you to share your story as well. So yes, thank you for joining.
Oh, thanks, Becky, and thanks, Annapurna team, for thinking of me and still keeping in touch after 5, 6 years of having actually a really successful time together. So looking forward to sharing a little bit about my history and maybe my the things that have worked for me in my career.
Fabulous. Cool. Well, let's get started then, Peter. Do you want to just start out by introducing yourself, where you're from, what you studied, a little bit about your background, and
Of course, of course. In case the listeners haven't detected yet, I'm from Germany, but have lived in a lot of different places since. So grew up in Germany, then went to uni there. Don't have maybe the traditional HR background. Studied business and then did a master's in marketing, both in Germany, in France, and in Spain. Really enjoyed that. Yeah, and then I started with a few smaller enterprises, actually, with just some internships there, just to get to a bit of a feeling of the business life. I liked it, and then I had the privilege of working for Unilever and PepsiCo for a little bit before joining Heineken, which is the place where I'm now and where we worked together 6 years ago.
Oh, thank you for that. So let's dive into it. So yeah, if you could share a bit of an overview on your story. So how did you get into the position that you're in today? I know you sort of started to allude there, but maybe a bit of a deeper dive on how you've progressed.
Yeah, of course, I can do that. I started with Heineken in a trainee program. It was an international one at that time. We've just launched the reshaped version of that. And for me, this was great. It's exactly what I wanted to do coming out of university. I wanted to see as many places and businesses of the company as possible. And I was internationally mobile, so I had the privilege of working in Spain, Mexico, Ethiopia, and then in the UK, where we worked together. And there, the company was great because it gave me the opportunity to go places and see a lot of different parts of our business, which is, I think, one thing that makes my current employer really great.
Fabulous. So many like different experiences during that time, which is super interesting, and I'm sure kind of shaped the pathway that you took. When you were carving out your career path, what sort of skills did you start to notice that you kind of had that have been invaluable since?
Yeah, for me, there were a couple. I found out at some point that I'm actually pretty good at connecting with people. I've lived in a lot of different places, as we just found out. So and I like it. I'm a genuinely very curious person. I like to learn about new places, about people, and what drives them. So I'm very interested in that. So that I found that people like that, and that I enjoy that as part of the work that I do. And then I think there's a second part, and maybe this is helpful in the HR world and now in the I guess corporate environment that I'm in. I'm also pretty good at connecting people and making the connections between different things. So people that I've worked with and worked for really enjoy that. And then yeah, the last part that I remember my parents were really keen for me to learn as many languages as I possibly can. So I speak German, English, and Spanish, and could work in all three of those environments. And I also used to be pretty good in French, but that is a bit rusty. So I think language skills and connecting people and yeah, and being pretty good at connecting with people. These would be the three things I would put in there.
Amazing. And I suppose, yeah, that must be invaluable when you're working in a HR position, right? Because the reality is everything you do, people are at the kind of heart of it. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you don't understand the people you're working with or placing or moving around the business, then it's going to be quite difficult long term to make that kind of impact, right?
Yeah, and maybe the other thing, and it was a very conscious choice for me to study marketing, not because I love marketing or brands per se, but I always felt that when you work in HR, a lot of it is also about positioning things, about segmenting audiences, and really target the things that you do to where it matters. So I always wanted to. I was dreaming when I was studying to be in a boardroom and be around leaders and really help with business success, as corporate as this may sound. But and I felt that marketing was the one that brings everything together. So I think it's actually marketing and people is a match made in heaven.
So whilst working in the kind of global landscape, have you noticed any distinct differences in maybe the cultures or communication styles, perhaps biases in the workplaces? I mean, the type of countries you've worked in vary drastically, right? So any major differences that you noticed?
I think we're all in our company. We're a consumer goods company, right? We want to make sure that people are having a good time, and this is what unites us all. But of course, there are differences if you work in the UK business, because it's based for the UK and for British customers and consumers. In Mexico, for example, I remember is a huge business, extremely professional, very large. But still very close, which I really like, which I think is part of the Mexican culture. And I've had my first assignment with a company in Spain, where I remember a lot of freedom to do many things, but also how important it was to connect with people outside of the workplace, and actually have a really strong network across not only the HR function but across many functions. And actually, it's really nice because I've still a lot of friends from that time in Spain, that I continue to work with and lean on and collaborate with, and actually have also a really good personal friendship with.
Cool. That's amazing. Good that you've had that opportunity. And yeah, I guess it goes back to your point around your ability to build and keep connections, right? I'm sure that didn't happen by accident that you did well in those scenarios, because yeah, if it's a natural tendency, then it makes a lot of sense. So we talked about differences. Why do you think it's important to have a diverse team?
I think it's a discussion, of course, that's currently ongoing again for many different reasons. But I have to say I've seen firsthand what it can bring to a business and the business outcome. I remember I was part of a commercial management team, and in a very traditional industry, which is the pub and beer industry. But we didn't do it. We didn't build the team. We didn't build the team on purpose because of gender or different backgrounds. But it actually was who was the right person for the job, and who was open for it. I think that the first thing that we should always say, it starts with the leader and the trust that the leader creates. So for me, this is the backbone and the foundation of it all. But I do remember the honesty and openness and the different directions of people that they brought, and the really positive business impact, which I think is something what we forget was really key. I remember in this case, we were just coming out of COVID. We had to close the business many times, had to align many different messages, and having a lot of different perspectives for that. Influencing the decision-making process was absolutely key. And I remember we have something like an engagement survey, and we were really diving deep across all areas of the business, understanding what are the pain points, and coming together and doing something truly as a team was an amazing outcome. And I think this was the first time I remember that people see, oh, if we work together, it has a really positive impact on people and then eventually on our business. So yeah, we could see the direct correlation between having a very diverse but also strongly aligned team. bringing the people agenda forward. So yeah, still to this date, a very proud moment for me. And actually, in this case, it was 50-50 male and female, and I think now it's actually I'm no longer part of the team, but it remained like that. So I'm very proud of that.
Amazing. Yeah, it's definitely great to see that that shift is happening,
Yeah.
and when you have leaders who continue to support it, right? And
Yeah.
I think your point at the beginning around ensuring that it's the right person for the job is
Yeah.
obviously super important.
Yeah.
But then ensuring that everyone at the table does feel kind of heard and
Yeah.
feels that they can contribute and collaborate, I think is important, so that they end up feeling part of that mission, right?
Yeah.
Project or whatever it might be in that scenario.
Yeah, maybe just one point to build on. I remember it was really the level of within the management team, the level of support, and sometimes we would say care for each other in Heineken. But together with the challenge, for sometimes we would say dare to do things differently, was really second to none. And I think it's my personal ambition maybe to see how can I replicate this in the other places where I work and in the other teams. And yeah, I think we're making good progress overall.
Amazing. Yeah, it's inspiring to hear. Are there any leaders or mentors that you have had, Peter, throughout your journey who've maybe made a really strong impact on yourself?
Yes, I've had a few, some in the HR field, and some business leaders that have left a great mark on me. I have opened doors, as I mentioned to you earlier, Becky. The very first one was actually just when I joined my current employer, and it was a person who was very senior in the HR field, and now she's a general manager, and yeah, I think she was a great role model of how to connect HR and the business agenda, how to dare to do things a bit differently, which I always liked. And one thing that always sticks with me, and if you ask me, is, hey, this is what is in your toolbox that you would say, hey, this is invaluable for me now. And for me, it's actually having a really good understanding of numbers, understanding how does math work. Someone in our company said before, the language of business is math, and I think this is to a certain extent absolutely true. So I learned a lot from her. I have to say, another person who's really shaped me was a leader that I've had for many years, and she always gave me a shot. You know, she always opened doors, and it motivated me tremendously. And the one thing that I had was the feeling that she would always be in my corner in case something went wrong. And of course, things went wrong sometimes, but I never had to worry, because I always felt that she was there. And then. Maybe the last person I would mention is a very seasoned business leader that we had, and I remember is extremely senior, and he always made the time to thank people all across the organization for the contributions that they've made to the work of his team. And it's something that really inspired me, and something I try to live up to. And I keep on remembering to say, hey, it's important to thank people for the good work and the effort that they've put into something. It feels very small, but I think if we had more people doing this, we would have even more successful business.
Yeah, sounds like you've had some really amazing people backing your
Yes.
corner, which is nice to hear. And I think at the end of the day, when you have great leaders, you also learn how to become a great leader, right? And it sounds like you've had different types of people, which help shape in different ways. So the combination of your like natural curiosity and your marketing background, but then also the maths skills, and then yeah, I think just genuinely like being a good person, right? So like thanking people, listening, encouraging and empowering them is, yeah, I think so important and probably invaluable.
Yeah, I think finding the right balance between daring and caring, and I think it's easy if if you're smooth sailing. If it's in choppy waters, sometimes I think exactly your summary is important to remember, and something to hold on to. Yeah, and I'm trying my best to live up to that.
Amazing. Have you got, it's a difficult question, have you got one piece of advice that you recall throughout time that kind of sticks with you, that was maybe the best advice you've received?
Yes, and it's from one of those leaders. I don't have to think about it very long because I have it in my head every day. And he said he always says, Peter, it's so important to understand something deeply and communicate it simply. And I think sometimes in my profession, in the HR professions, a lot of things are complex and complicated. But to understand something deeply and then communicating it simply to the business, and this is something that has worked well for me. We can always do better, but this is the one thing I say. Hey, if someone had told me this in the beginning of my career, it would have helped me a lot early on. But now it's something I remember every day.
I like that. I really like that. Yeah, kind of giving you the opportunity to reflect both on the information you received, but also then how you kind of process that. And
Yes.
again, going back to the point of like who you're then interacting with, right? Different people receive that information in different ways. And so
Exactly.
the more simple you can make it, the more impactful it would be.
Yeah, and I think it's also about connecting the different points, right? Sometimes it's a bit about, but we can be in our function. Sometimes we can be quite heavy on process and making sure that people are ticking the right boxes. Especially if you have a lot of people in my area of the business. We have 45,000 colleagues, and of course, process is important to keep things consistent. But it's for me, it's even more important to then connect the dots. And I think connecting the dots you can only do if you understand something deeply. So something I try to live up to.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah. And understanding the people who are then receiving the information too, which
Exactly.
is important. Nice. Well, thank you so much, Peter. That's been really, really interesting. And I really enjoyed hearing a bit more deeper into your story. I'm sure people will be keen to, listen back and hear about how you've gotten to where you've your position that you're in today, especially those who are maybe starting out their career in HR and understanding that there's lots of different possibilities. Careers are not always kind of linear. And in an organization like Heineken, it sounds like there's lots and lots of opportunity, which is exciting.
Yes.
So the last question's a fun one, and it's not too HR focused, but where's next in your vacation bucket list?
That's a good question. I'm just back from South Africa, which was great. The one place that has been on my list for a long time, and we had it planned, but then COVID hit, is Patagonia in Argentina. So this is on my list. I don't have a fixed time yet, but I would really love to go. Good food, good wine. I'm not sure too much beer. But yeah, great scenery. So this is something that is on my bucket list. I would love to do. It's quite far away, and I need a bit of time. So maybe next year or so. But yeah, this is on my bucket list.
I've actually been there, and I can highly recommend it. So
Yes.
I think you
So
would
yeah,
love it.
I look forward to that.
Lots of fun, lots of active walking and hiking and things like that. But yeah, amazing. Well, Peter, thank you so much for joining me. It was really, really good to see you and good to catch up. Looking forward to sharing this out with the network and seeing what kind of feedback we get. Have a lovely
Thank you,
rest of
Becky.
your week.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you for the opportunity. It was great.